Hi everyone, my name's Kristen. I also go by Ms.Filmingo, and thanks for clicking on this video. Today I'm happy to share my exclusive interview with Cole Webley. He is the director behind the film Omaha, which stars John Magaro, Molly Bellray, and Wyatt Solis. I saw this last year at the 2025 Sundance Film Festival, and it was my favorite film that I saw. It's really incredible, and I hope you all go see it. Last week, I had the chance to connect with Cole to speak about the film, but before we cut over to my interview, let me give you all a brief synopsis about Omaha. A young girl and her brother are awoken by their father, loaded into the car on an early morning in 2008. As they road trip across the American West, she discovers the truth about their seemingly spontaneous journey. Now that you know a little bit about the film, let's cut over to my interview with Cole. It's an honor to speak with you because I saw Omaha last year at Sundance and watched it from home, had an extremely good cry. It was heartbreaking at times. I loved every single minute of it. It was one of my favorite movies I saw in 2025. Put it all on my list of the best of the best. And I know this movie had a strong film festival run.
It
And
did.
every time I saw it, I was recommending it to people. It even came to my home state of New Jersey at Montclair and
Yeah.
LBI. So I'm so happy a lot of people got to see it. And now you're getting that well-deserved theatrical release. So I must applaud you. Good job, sir. You did an amazing
Thank
job
you.
with this
Thank you.
film. Yes. So I have to ask, why was it important for you to tell this story?
I wanted to make a film. It's funny, like it wasn't like I read, I was searching for a story like this. I simply was looking for a film that just like slapped me on the face when I read it. And I
Mhm.
was just saying to someone, I read this as a reading sample and not as like a script I was going to make.
Okay.
So I really read it as like just an audience member at first.
Hmm.
And I remember immediately feeling like, holy cow, this is going to make a great movie, whoever makes this movie. And I didn't realize I could option the script and make it myself. And it was through a process of just sharing it with my producer and talking about it. I was working with the writer who's incredible, Robert Machoian, and
Hmm.
Robert had given me this script as something to read, and I suddenly was like under, understood why did I feel like this could be a movie? Why was I so intrigued by it? And that's when I really decided, like and dove into the why I needed to make this movie, which is to say,
Hmm.
I was wanting to make a movie about family, but I didn't know this was the script that I needed to make. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
was like, when I read this experience, I had nothing. I knew about the law, but I did not know what had happened in Nebraska,
Hmm.
and that revelation was so gut-wrenching to me
Hmm.
to to picture who these people were and these 20, these kids and these parents and who were these parents that could do this and why. And Robert, it was with that same emotion that he confronted the question and went into this history of writing and doing the research, and then I was just the beneficiary of that, all that stuff. So, in many reasons or in many ways, it was the simplicity of the story. It was the potency of the emotion that was on the page. It was road trip. Who doesn't love a road trip movie? I
Right.
loved and grew up on these great road trip movies. And it was the scale and emotional weight of a story that I was like, I felt destined to kind of jump into.
Right.
Um, it wasn't until I really discovered why I wanted to tell the dad story that everything kind of was like, we have to make this movie.
And I love the fact the screenwriter is Robert, Integrity of Joseph Chambers, which I also enjoyed, The Killing of Two Lovers. Two great films. What are some of the challenges you both faced while putting this movie together?
Well, they say never make movies with kids and animals. So that was all. We knew that was going to be tough. Why is it tough? Well, they're uncontrollable in many ways. Wyatt
Hmm.
certainly was. He was 6. We had 4 hours to shoot him every day. His attention span was not for 4 hours a day. So
Yeah.
it was like, really, do you get 2 or 3 hours? And they were great 2 or 3 hours, but it was challenging. They're in so many pages of the script, and how do you make a
Yeah.
movie on an indie budget and do it quickly? Another one of the challenges was just kind of anybody making an independent movie. You
Hmm.
know, the stakes are so high if it's your first movie, which it's the only industry, by the way, that requires your first movie to be like incredible for you to get a second movie.
Hmm.
Nobody expects your first album or your first, sample record and things like that to be your opus. But for some reason in movies, it's very hard to get a next movie if your first one isn't at least relevant in the sense that it's seen and get some level of like life behind it, which is a sad truth to the film industry. But so
Hmm.
there's like this total heavy weight of venturing off on this journey with an incredible script that I was just worried I couldn't screw. I was like, how do I not screw this up,
Right.
and piece by piece you'd build your movie, and that's by first and foremost having the right producer, and you have to have the right script. Let's say that's the very first thing, and then you have a great producer and you have a director that you believe in, and then you got to find John Magaro, and you got to say he's your dad. And why is he your dad? Well, because he's this great everyday man who can transform into the leading man the second you get that camera on him. And he's neither this enemy or this hero. He That's who that father needed to be.
Hmm.
And then you discover two kids who are just incredible in their power and on-screen presence. Molly, who's from Manchester, England, who's not even American,
Oh,
uh,
wow. She nails that American accent. Like, oh my God.
puts on an American accent. Yeah. Uh, and then and she's kind of like a trained actress, if you will, like whereas Wyatt was just coming in as a 6-year-old, kind of just roaming free, and the magic we got with him, which was like
Yeah.
so important to the music of the film, if you will, like the emotional music.
But I'm sure the kids, I know you said one of the challenging parts is that obviously working with kids and animals. I'm sure the kids had fun with John because John is just really incredible here. Like you said, he transforms into this role. And I said in like my review of this a while ago, this is his best performance. So you got very lucky. So what was it like bringing John on to this project and how did you get him to say yes?
Oh man, so we had all just enjoyed past lives, but I was a fan of John's before that, and where I really felt like he was the man was his performance as Cookie in First Cow, and
Mm-hmm.
understanding how much vulnerability and grace and just kind of beauty he had in his at his soul. Because um John he's played a lot of roles, and a lot of which are just kind of like we only get a piece of who this guy is, and he serves this role, and then Cookie let him be kind of this full-fledged dude. And so I was just like, if we could get John, that's the perfect prototype. Okay, well, let's go after him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then it turns out he had just made a movie with one of my friends from undergrad. And I had no idea the movie was about to come out, Leroy, Texas. And
Oh, I love that one too. Oh, that's a
yeah,
good one.
I went to school with that director, Shane Atkinson. I texted Shane and I was like, "Oh, shoot, you made this movie with John. I'm about to go out with him. Send him a text if you don't mind. He's going to get an email from me and his agent, blah blah blah." And then I knew this great cinematographer, Christopher Blavel, who shot all of those movies with him with Kelly Reichardt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Blavel texted him and said the same. So John had kind of like a couple friends saying, "Hey, you're gonna get a script. This guy's legit. Like, go ahead and read it. You're not. It's like give him your attention." And really thankful for that. Another one, Sam Hodges, who we all know, who's a writer friend. So these three friends really set the stage, and then it was just the writing, Robert's writing, that grabbed John, and we jumped on a Zoom, and by the end of it, he said, "Let's go make this thing."
All right. Well, I love that worked out. So title Omaha. I'm sure you filmed some of it in Nebraska, but I remember watching the Sundance Live Q&A. You filmed some of the movie in Utah. So what was it like filming all over? Because I also think you filmed in Wyoming. Am I not
Yeah,
mistaken?
yeah.
Yeah. So what was it like traveling and getting all these different locations?
Well, I live in Utah, so I really knew the terrain and the area where this movie should start. The story itself was based like in southern or eastern or excuse me, Northern California, where we really originated them from. But we changed that to be in Nevada, and we started them in a small town in rural Utah and came across through Salt Lake. Did a lot of our locations, the big kind of set pieces that are in the movie, they're all kind of anchored here in Utah.
Mhm.
Um, but then we hit the road and we did this real kind of road trip as a crew from where they would have left up to I-80 and all the way out to Nebraska,
Mhm.
stopping at gas stations to shoot the Would You Rather ice cream scene, the first gas station they stop at for the other stuff. So it was it was an exhausting 27-day shoot. But I felt like I was at home because for 20 days I got to sleep in my own bed,
Yeah, that's pretty
and
nice.
it was pretty nice. It was pretty nice.
And what was it like working with Paul Myers? Because the cinematography here, stunning. I love the salt flats here. Everything looks gorgeous. So what was it like working with Paul and developing that film style?
If I was ever gonna try and like storm, a castle, I would want Paul right next to me. He's so committed to his craft. He's so dedicated as a human in every aspect of his life. And, it's hard to ask that of everybody on movies, especially on independent movies. So you need at least your core people to be so committed to the vision of the movie. And Paul undoubtedly was. He lives here by me, so we were able to do some real heavy prep on this movie for a long time before we shot it. It's just us driving around in a car, looking for locations, dreaming up what this movie is, sitting and looking at photography books, establishing a language. We wanted the movie to be effortlessly beautiful, and in the way that feeling like you're on a road trip and you can turn and point and shoot a camera, and
Hmm.
you get this majestic photo. The sunsets, the sunrises, the low sun, the high sun, everything in between, we wanted it to feel like reminiscent of these road trips growing up in the West. You're back east, I'm sure you had similar things, but back west, you really was like an 8 to 12 or 14-hour road trip. Um, you could do that before you go from one cool, super cool city to another. You know what I mean? You hit a lot of
Hmm.
little cities along the road, but if you guys did that, you'd be like Miami to Boston. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
Uh, there's like a lot of great places in between. So for us, it was like if I wanted to go to Disneyland, that was a 12-hour drive when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
And we would go through Oregon, Idaho, Northern California, and we'd eventually make it to Disneyland. But so yeah, that's a big part of growing up in the West. I grew up in Washington State,
Okay.
and Paul and I we worked really hard on the look and feel of the movie. And then in post production, we had really great collaborators with Daniel DeVue, our colorist. We didn't get a shoot on film, but we wanted to give it a kind of timeless look. And that was kind of in the process of how we colored the movie and the
Hmm.
texture we gave it to it. There's halation in the highlights. There's on and on and on.
What do you hope audiences take away after watching Omaha?
I think the thing that drove me to it, and I hope is this, I said this before, this is a dangerous question for a filmmaker because I don't really care, although I want them to have an emotional reaction. It's been interesting that like it's not a movie I made for people to have just purely an intellectual journey of, the why and how did this happen and what are the social things that we can do and who's to blame and how do we change that? And those are great conversations, but that's not the movie that I made. The movie I
Hmm.
made was to say, how do we humanize this statistic? How do we understand that these are real people, that the marginalized things that the marginalized statistics that we kind of skim through on our news feed are like real people. And it's
Hmm.
never been more relevant today as an, there's a process of just kind of distilling people into categories. Um, and I feel like Omaha, it requires of you some humanity.
Hmm.
And you can't be a cynic and like this movie,
No.
There's a lot of music, there's a lot of kids, there's a lot of beautiful kind of life moments, and I want people to allow themselves to feel, and hopefully that reaction helps them remember kind of as we go through life and see these statistics of folks that there are real people behind it.
And finally, I just really want to ask you quickly, what was it like working with Greenwich Entertainment to help you release the film?
Greenwich, the great people there, they reached out to us during Sundance and after, and just kind of pursued us and with this belief in this movie and wanting to put it out and get it into theatrical. Um, Getting a theatrical run is like kind of winning the lottery on an independent movie nowadays. It's less it's much more common to get a distribution deal and go straight to like a streaming
Hmm.
SVOD and PVOD. So them wanting to just at least put it in the theater, nationwide and in the art house thing was amazing. And they've been acquiring some really great indie movies, and
Hmm.
the industry is changing so much. It used to be
Right.
that the only ones that were getting the good movies were these big heavy lifters that you might know. We all know their names, but now those folks are buying so less that there's this other tier of distributors that are getting great films. And Greenwich has been a wonderful partner, and they believe in this movie, and I'll be grateful for them forever for that.
That's going to wrap up my interview with Cole. Make sure you check out Omaha, opening in theaters in New York on Friday, April 24th, and in theaters nationwide this May. This also concludes today's interview, so please comment, like, and share. Subscribe to the channel so I can bring you more interviews like this, and follow me on social media. All the links will be provided down below. I'll see you all next time. Bye!